Hello and welcome to Little Kingdom Warriors. I'm your host, Brenda. Join me today as we tune in for part 2 of the interview I had with Deb Smith from Mama's Mission. In this episode, we are going to cover some of Deb's journey with infertility. It was a very long journey that Deb had with infertility. I think you're going to find it really helpful, particularly if you have walked this path yourself. Perhaps you're going through this path at the moment, or maybe you are going through a difficult time at the moment. There's some things that Deb shared that I think you're going to find really helpful. We also cover a little bit about what her quiet times look like as a busy mum of two. I think you're going to find it really encouraging and really helpful as well. So sit back and get that coffee and let's get started. Hi, I'm Brenda and you're listening to the Little Kingdom Warriors podcast, where we help our kids discover God through play. Are you overwhelmed by the weight of your never-ending list of things to do, but desperately want to invest in your kids' faith life? Are you tired of the same old colouring sheets and seemingly lifeless Bible stories that you're even struggling to sound enthusiastic about? Well, I'm here to help. I'm a lover of all things creative, an ex-primary school teacher turned stay-at-home mum and follower of Jesus. Let's walk this path together and transform our kids' lives with new and exciting ways to explore the Bible and help them become God's little kingdom warriors. We might not have it all together, but with God, and maybe a strong coffee or two, we've got this. Would you mind sharing, so you talked a little bit about fertility, and I know something that we connected on was, I don't think I had as long a journey of infertility as some people. Can you tell me a bit about your journey with infertility and how that impacted you as a Christian? And maybe also if that has also impacted you in the way you mother or anything like that?
Well, we were married for maybe about 2 years, and then we started thinking, okay, maybe we should look at having children or getting a bit more serious about it. So we were married at 24, and we tried for about a year, I think, and nothing was happening. So I said to my husband, well, maybe we should get some checks done. And we thought he should get them first because it's a bit easier for him than myself. So he got them done, and the doctor basically said to him, the only way Deb will have a child is with somebody else. So yeah, not really that tactful, but and then my husband said, okay, well, what about IVF? And he was like, you're like, the sperm are just in not that great condition. Like, no, IVF won't even help you. So we had those words spoken over us, and, you can choose to accept that or go the other way. And I just thought, okay, well, obviously I'm going to my maker because he knows way better than any physician. And we were getting several words over that time that you're going to be parents, and, and I just wondered after a wee while, are they just saying that because I want to hear that? Because usually when you know that you can't have something, that just intensifies the want. And after a wee while, I just got a bit fed up, and I thought, nah, that's it. I'm having it out with the Lord. You need to tell me once and for all, am I going to be a mum or not? Like, I can handle it if I'm not, but come on, can you just set me straight? And so he did, and he led me to a verse in Jeremiah, and it basically said, because I always thought Ephraim was going to be my son's name, and it said, it said something about Ephraim is my beloved son and my firstborn. And I was like, that's it. That's my verse. I'm standing on that. We're going to have children. And it didn't happen straight away. I'd love to say that it did. So we probably battled for another 4 or 5 years after that. So probably our infertility journey was about 5 or 6 years. And then we had Mackenzie. I thought we were going to have Ephraim, but we had Mackenzie. And then I just felt like our family wasn't complete. And I knew I was still standing on that verse that Ephraim was my son. So I just knew we were going to have a son. And he came along. So Mackenzie, so there's 6 years, another 6 years. So it's hard. It's definitely made me way more intentional with my mothering. And that is part of the reason why, I love my job as a teacher, but I can't go back full time because I put all, what it's like. You put so much into your students that your children or your family get second best a lot of the time. And I didn't want that. My whole objective was to raise my kids to know and love Jesus. And I don't want to really leave that to someone else in those really important early years. So yeah.
So, so thanks so much for sharing, Deb. What an intimate thing to be sharing about. That must have been so disheartening for you walking that journey. And it was such a long time between kind of getting that word and I suppose that desire to have a family and then it finally coming into fruition. How did you handle all that as a Christian and what sort of things were going through your mind as you were struggling in this journey?
No, that's a really good question. I think, after I got my verse, I stood on that and I was, you're always going to get doubt. And it was really hard because we got married around the same time as our friends. So when they're all having children, we didn't. And that makes it really hard. So after like the 20th baby shower that you're invited to, it's rough. It's really hard. But, it's not my friend's fault that they were having children, but I couldn't. So it was just a constant going back to the Lord, like, and it wasn't all fluffy, like, you've promised me this and I'm going to stand on that. A lot of the times it was, but it was in anger, like, why are you doing this? Like, I actually think I could be a pretty decent mum here. Like, I mean, there are some not great examples out there. Come on, like, what's wrong with me? Um, so we would have those heart to hearts, really. And as throughout that 6 year journey, he just gently wooed me closer and closer to him. And in that time frame, we just got a bit stagnant with life. And so we decided to just pack up and quit our jobs and move over to Canada, which we did for a year. And we loved it. And over that time, God really did some work on me because he just really got to my identity. I was finding my identity in my job and my, status as a wife, those kind of things. And he was like, that's not what it's about at all. Your identity should be found in me and nobody else. So that was really good because I'm pretty sure if I was a mum by that stage, I would have found identity in my children, which I think a lot of mums can identify with. And yeah, he just wooed me back to him. And yeah, even to the point where I fell pregnant in Canada. And I remember one time journaling, because journaling was the way that he spoke to me really clearly. And yeah, I just said to him, I'm not even feeling nauseous. I don't even feel pregnant. Like, can you just please take the doubt away? Like, I've always got this niggling fear in the back of my head that something's going to happen. And I literally put the journal down and then ran to the toilet and threw up. And he said to me, was that clear enough for you? And I was like, yeah, that was pretty clear. So I didn't ask him again to prove that I was pregnant because I didn't want to throw up again.
I think God's got a sense of humour.
Oh, majorly.
That's so awesome. So Deb, let's go back a little bit to discipleship. Can you tell me whether things have changed now, how you're discipling now that you've got two kids? So I know that I had a bit of a giggle actually when you were saying that you like to maybe have some quiet time or something in the morning, and you don't want your daughter to come in until a certain time. And I laugh because it's just chaos in my house. As soon as everyone's awake, all the doors are open and people are running around the house. What does it look like now in your house now that you've got two little people?
Oh, it's a little bit different, but I mean, I've been pretty blessed. My son is so cruisy. So yeah, I know. Because in my first Mackenzie, she was pretty easy too. And everyone keeps saying, like, you just wait until you have your second. And I rebuke that, like, no. And he's just so go with the flow. So they sleep in the same room. And I usually have to wake Kenzie up for school. And he's usually awake, just lying there, but he doesn't cry. He just lies there and, gives me a big smile when I go in. So I can actually have that quiet time in the morning. And yeah, okay, if she comes out to interrupt me, that's fine. You just go with it. I've also started trying to, when she's at school, I'm obviously at home with him. So, just actually, I don't care how old he is, you can still model. So I'm like, actually, why can't I just read my Bible around him? It doesn't have to be like this intense study, but I can still read scripture around him and show him what a real Bible looks like. So we've started doing that a wee bit more as well. But I mean, yeah, two kids, I think I think three is next level. Like I mean, hopefully we get to that stage, but yeah, having two and having that 6 year gap is really good because Kenzie's at the age where I can actually ask her for help and she will be very helpful. She pretty much treats her brother like her personal doll. So she's really hands on and wants to help feed him and dress him and things like that. So that's really helpful.
It's helpful up to a point, isn't it, when they
Yeah, yeah.
want to start carrying the baby around and think they're
Oh,
mummy.
yeah.
That's funny. So, as a mum, when you're studying the Bible and stuff, are you going through like a particular study? What are you doing? And how long would you do like a devotional in the morning by yourself?
So in the morning, I would probably spend about 20 minutes to half an hour, probably a bit longer if I actually prayed more intentionally. I'm a bit slack in my prayer life, but my devotional time looks like getting into a book of the Bible. So I'll just pray and ask the Lord what he wants me to look at. So at the moment, he's really wanting me to look at the character of Jesus. So obviously we're going through the Gospels. I'm in Mark at the moment. I do a chapter a day. I just read the chapter and then I do an acronym called HEAR, which is H, which is highlight. So you just write the verse out. So in my journal again, E is explain. So explain what's actually happening, like the behind the scenes details. And that's quite good because it starts getting you looking a little bit more about the context of the scripture because I think, we always hear that's super important and it is. So usually sometimes it's a Google search, sometimes that's just you can just figure out from the scripture and just write that in your journal. A is application. So how does this actually apply to my life? And the R is a response. So it could be just a prayer, writing down a quick prayer. It could be, sometimes I'll read something and God will say, I want you to make dinner for that person or something like that. So I write that down in my response, so depending if I'm getting a prompting. And then after that, that doesn't take me too long, to be perfectly honest. And then with that here acronym, I'm just picking one verse out of that chapter that really stands out to me. And then after that, I write a bit of gratitude. So I think being thankful, that attitude is really helpful. That's because I've struggled a lot with, comparison and the grass is greener for everyone else except me, that kind of thing. So I was really encouraged by the Lord to actually start getting grateful for what I do have. So I'll list some qualities of my husband I'm grateful for, my daughter, and just in general, just random. And then if I'm really, really doing well, pat on the back here, that's when I'm praying and getting really into, praying for certain people, praying for our day, that kind of thing.
That's lovely. I love that you do that with your kids. I mean, we'll sometimes pray at breakfast or in the car, but for me at the moment, perhaps in the crazy with three kids and all relatively close together, I feel like a lot of the discipleship that I'm doing is kind of as it happens, but I do want to make sure that I'm more intentional. If, say, Mackenzie is around while you're doing your devotions and stuff, would you talk to her about what you're reading or anything, or what do you do then?
Yeah. Yeah. I actually heard a podcast the other day and someone was saying how she spends her quiet time in the morning. And then when she's getting her kids ready for school, having breakfast and stuff, she will just randomly bring up what she has been learning in her devotion. And I thought, That's actually a really good idea. Like over breakfast, sometimes, you know, you want to talk, you have a wee bit of discussion. And so I did that the other day, and I was learning about what were they? Oh, the disciples were just asking Jesus questions. And I said to her, this is what I said to my daughter, this is what I was learning about this morning. What kind of questions would you ask Jesus if he was here with us? And that actually generated a really decent discussion. And that was totally off the cuff, did not
Oh,
plan
that's
that
awesome.
at all. But that's a really easy way of just like slotting that in. And yeah, she was like, I would like to know if I'm going to heaven. And I was like, okay, well, we probably should come back to that. But there were other things that she just wanted to know about Jesus, and it was really cool.
That's awesome. I love it. Is she the sort of child that will ask questions all the time, or is it more sort of thoughtful?
It's mostly all like a lot of the time she's very inquisitive. I would love to say all of her questions are really good questions. That's not the case. Um, I'm gonna go with maybe about 70% of her questions are legit and good questions, but you're still gonna get those questions. And I look at her and I'm like, really? Really? Like I don't even know if I want to answer that. Like
Yeah. Do you think you're starting to see? I suppose sometimes when it's early on in a kid's life, it's hard to see the fruit of spending intentional time discipling. Do you think you've started to see any fruits of spending quality time with Mackenzie discipling, from when she's been about 2 until now?
yeah, I would love to say like you I mean, sometimes it's hard to find those. But yeah, I mean, the other day when we were just driving to school and she was like, oh, I'll pray for us, shall I? And I'm the one to go, do you want to pray first or should I? But she just totally took it. And even just random things like my dad, probably about a year ago, he lost his leg because he's a diabetic. So they had to chop off half his leg. And my daughter just came over and just said, I want to pray for your leg. And he was like, yeah, you go for it, because my dad's a Christian as well. And she was like, I'm praying for your leg to grow back. Jesus can do this. And she was like, just like the hair grows on my head, your leg will be grown back. And he was like, whoa, okay. And I just thought that's so awesome because I don't know, like, yeah, we'd obviously discuss it at some point that is a miracle maker and he can do the impossible. But yeah, just the fact that she took it that little bit further, and actually wanted to lay hands on her. We call him Didda, but she wanted to lay hands on Didda and pray for complete healing, like bringing his leg back. I was like, wow, I don't think anyone's actually said that they're going to do that for him.
Well, why not? She believes it.
Yeah,
That's awesome. That's fantastic. I think we might start wrapping it up. I
sounds good.
just want to thank you so much again, Deb, for taking the time to come on the show. Can you share a little bit about where people can find you?
They can find me. I mean, I'm on Instagram sporadically. So a dash of Deb is where you'll find me on Instagram. And then you can find me with Mama's Mission on any podcast. You'll see a picture of me with my two kids. And yeah, that's basically where you're going to find me at the moment.
Awesome. And as we draw to a close, have you got any thoughts or any tips for the mama out there who's maybe hearing about the concept of discipling for the first time and doesn't know where to start? What would you say to her?
I think if you really don't know what this is all about, it's basically just pointing your kids to Jesus. And I think the key thing here is that you, as a mama, you're okay with Jesus. So if you're spending time with him and you're praying, you're seeking him out, that kind of thing, you're going to be fine. It'll come hopefully naturally into your conversations and the way you do life with your kids. But if you're not, get that right first. Like just spend only like 2 minutes, start real small, couple of minutes in the Bible each day. Not gonna, not too hard to do. And then it'll grow from there. Because where I'm at now with my quiet time and things like that, it didn't start like that at all, because I was busy and I was like, I don't have time for this. And the reality is I had to make the time.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thank you so much, Deb. And I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.
Absolutely. Bye.
Well, I hope you walked away feeling empowered and encouraged after that great interview. I certainly had such a great time chatting with Deb. Don't forget to check her podcast out. It's called Mama's Mission, and there's also part 1 of the interview, which you can check out. It's just the episode prior to this one. I think it's episode 34. So if you want to go and check that out, I'll leave a link for that in the show notes as well. Don't forget to continue the conversation over in the Christian parenting community. I'll leave a link for that in the show notes. As always, I really appreciate if you could leave a review for my show to help other people find it. That just really lights me up. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye. Hey friends, if this podcast encouraged you or made an impact on you in some way, I would be so grateful if you could take a minute to leave a review to help other people find my show. Don't forget to click subscribe so you are the first to know when a new episode airs. Hop on over and join my free Little Kingdom Warriors Facebook community, which I will link for you in the show notes. Thanks so much for listening, and God bless. I'll see you next time.